One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Wes, you just completed your 8th year as head coach at Evansville, obviously a Missouri Valley Conference institution. I want to ask a little bit about the relationship between a head coach and a baseball head coach, of course, and his sport administrator, and what makes for an effective partnership on that front.
Absolutely. It is very crucial to have a dynamic relationship with your administrator. I've been fortunate enough here to have that, and it started with the man who hired me, and just building that trust and that open lines of communication from day one to really build that foundation. And then whenever you go and you're working hard, you're going on the field, you're going on the recruiting trail, and you're trying to represent the A-star here at Evansville and to the best of your ability, it's because of the belief you have in your leader. And I think that's real crucial to have an administrator with great leadership skills that can really direct, have a vision, and most importantly, have that open lines of communication and relationship of trust is what I've been able to have here, and I've been very fortunate so far early on in my career.
When you say open line of communication, is there a set weekly meeting you prefer, or is it about, you can call your AD whenever you need to and he picks up on any issue? What makes for effective open communication?
All of the above. I think having an open door policy, here at Evansville, we have a small athletic department, and I feel very comfortable that I can go and knock on his door any time of day, any day of the week, and he's going to answer it and sit down, and we're going to be able to have a conversation with whatever issues going on. Also on the phone, absolutely, being able through text message, getting a response, and also any kind of phone calls that I have, any kind of pressing needs. Here, like I said, it's such a unique, small athletic department. My athletic director is my sports supervisor as well. And so we work hand in hand on all issues, from budget to scheduling to any issues going on throughout our program. And it's fun to have that type of closeness and that tight-knit type of feel that we have here. But also having that trust of having an athletic director or administrator have your back. Dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids on a consistent basis, there can be issues that come up. And I really like the leaders that I've had for myself here are the ones that'll listen, that'll have open lines of communication, and kind of can be the moderator if any issues kind of pop up.
How important is it for your sport administrator to really understand the nuts and bolts of the game on the field? Is that important at all?
I don't think so. Not so much. I think if you get an administrator who, knows or think he knows more than the coach, I think you can get into some conflict. I've never had that here, so I don't know, but I don't believe it's that important. I think what's more important is the leadership styles. I think can range from all different sports and all different levels of administration, and I think that's what an administrator needs to continue to monitor. The decision-making process of their coaches, making sure they're communicating the right way, and make sure that their leadership skills are really relating to the multiple types of kids that you have on your roster. I have a big roster of 30, anywhere from 33 to 35. That's a lot of different personalities to make sure I communicate to compared to a basketball roster of 12 to 15. And so I think I want to continue to get evaluated and monitored and help in making sure that my communication can hit all different avenues of my roster. And that's what I think an administrator can be an effective leader, is he can help in that communication process, because usually administrators are coming in from a different angle as well.
You mentioned basketball having a roster of 12 to 15 or they're around, and they have, of course, a head coach and 3 full-time assistants, plus a director of basketball operations, and for some programs, a myriad of other support roles. Baseball, you guys have 2 full-time assistants currently and a volunteer for a roster for you of 30 to 35. There seems to be a pretty good groundswell of support of trying to add a 3rd full-time assistant for baseball programs, or allowing there to be a 3rd full-time assistant for baseball programs around the nation. What would that do for your program specifically?
Well, I think it would do an enormous amount with the amount of student athletes that we need to monitor from an academic standpoint, a social standpoint, and then on the field, being able to communicate with them and get the most out of them to develop and be the best players that they can be and be the best student athletes that they can be. So adding a third full-time assistant would do great things. Obviously, it's very challenging at smaller, lower budget type of universities such as the University of Evansville with our athletic department. It'll be a challenge to add a third assistant. But I think just if you look at it from an overall program, it would help tremendously. It would take some pressure off the head coach from a standpoint of recruiting a little bit, because head coaches in Division I athletics need to go out and fundraise a significant amount of money on a year-to-year basis. So it'd give them more time to work on fundraising. Recruiting, usually that third assistant will be a younger coach that can relate to recruits more and more, and it add more baseball coaches into the baseball community. So I'm for it. I think it would do great things, not only from a standpoint of in the office being able to help and assist with day-to-day operations, but on the field being able to reach more as far as having, it's kind of like the old adage of having a smaller classroom size so that your teacher can connect with you more and more. It's the same thing on the baseball field, where if you have 4 full-time coaches and 1 volunteer, that's 5 coaches now spread out over 35 guys instead of 4. So it can kind of get more position-specific, but most importantly, more face-to-face, one-on-one time that can help kids' overall development. So I think that's the direction we're going in. I think it'll take some pressure off the head coaches from a recruiting standpoint. They can do more fundraising and running the program, and I think it would add a different dynamic to the overall recruiting of prospective student athletes.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.